Joining me now, Markos Moulitsas. He's, of course, founder of the Daily Kos. And Michael Steele. He's a former advisor to John Boehner and Mitt Romney. So it's interesting, when you look at both candidates, in some ways, one, not taking the virus seriously enough at all, and one, if there's a criticism might be, is he taking it too seriously, at least when it comes to campaigning? Markos, let me start with you. Is there any part of you that's nervous about the light Biden footprint when it comes to campaigning, when it comes to the door knocking, when it comes to this stuff? It is probably the only hole in the campaign infrastructure, which is obvious why it's there. It's due to the pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, I was a little more worried, to be honest, about spending a lot more time in Georgia and Texas. And I'm somebody who's really gung-ho on expanding the map. But I also, if there's one thing that I'm still traumatized over 2016 was Hillary Clinton looking at states like Arizona without locking down Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. So that's the one piece that that has me a little worried. But like you said, he actually has plans to go back to those states in these last few days. So I'm a little less worried about it. And also, let's not forget, so many people have already voted. This is not a typical election as we've known them in the past.
Michael Steele, the question is the other way with the Trump campaign. I mean, you know, one of the things I said on Sunday is the October surprise may be that we're getting the third surge as Election Day comes. And the president seems to be insisting on making a huge push in the one region of the country that is experiencing a spike, and that's the Midwest. This may not end well.
Yeah, I mean, the president, I am completely unsurprised that the president is finishing the campaign the way he did in 2016, the way he wanted to. It's letting Trump be Trump, doing these massive, unsafe rallies. And I think that it's really the only thing left available to him. He doesn't have the resources to do things virtually. He doesn't have the resources to let television ads and surrogates, to the extent that he has any left, carry the load for him. So this is all he has left. It's all he knows, and that he's going to end just the way he began.
Hey, Michael Steele, just to give people properly understand what the RNC is doing here, the Trump campaign is insisting it's not out of money. But if the Trump campaign were not out of money, would the RNC have to be using its resources right now to purchase Donald Trump campaign ads?
Right. I mean, the campaign is broke. The president is not writing checks. Big donors are not writing more checks. So the RNC is providing light support to a campaign that desperately needs it because the campaign has mishandled its finances coming into the critical final stretch of this race.
Markos, when you look at the green wave that we're seeing, we saw it in 18, and it did produce, you know, one could argue it did produce that money probably made the difference in a lot of House Democrats going from 47 to 51. What do you think this advantage means this time down the ballot? What do you expect this green wave to produce?
I mean, we're seeing fundraising numbers that are just mind-boggling, right? We have Jamie Harrison running for Senate in South Carolina, reporting $56 million. That's presidential level money just a few cycles ago. We're seeing House races that are producing what
let me interrupt you here a minute. Markos, I got to give you my favorite stat. Yes. Donald Trump's campaign in the last week has booked $10 million in television ads. Jamie Harrison in the last week has booked $6 million in television ads in one state. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, no. So you're seeing you're seeing House races that are raising the kind of money Senate campaigns used to raise, and you're seeing state legislators raising the kind of money House campaigns used to raise in the millions of dollars over the last month. So obviously, money isn't everything in politics, and the one sort of argument I'll give to Donald Trump is that Hillary Clinton dramatically outspent him in 2016. He did not win because of money in 2016. And that can be said about any race. But what that does is it negates one of the Republican Party's historical advantages over the Democrats. That was big money. And it puts Democrats in that driving seat. And this is something that is often overlooked, is that money comes from small dollar donors. That means that each one of those individuals is vested in those races, which makes them more likely to do things like make phone calls, knock on doors, and be more directly engaged in that process. So this is all a huge win for Democrats. It's truly grassroots, and it's something that Republicans have been trying to replicate for the last decade at least, and they still haven't gotten that yet.
Michael Steele, I'm just struck by, I got to think when Bill Stepien, the president's campaign manager, let him know what their ad budget was for the last week, that part of his hope was that maybe, just maybe, that the president would say, okay, how much should I write? How much should this check be? And instead, they're asking others to write checks, and the president himself, and I don't know if Ivanka's given, I don't know if Jared's given, maybe they've maxed out, but he hasn't written his own check. It either says one of two things. He doesn't have the cash, even $10 million, say for a final week, or he doesn't think he can win, and it's not worth it.
Yeah, but it definitely is not the sign of a confident candidate. It's not the sign of a candidate who believes he's on a path to victory. At the same time, I would argue that he was not a confident candidate in 2016. I think it was a surprise to Donald Trump that he won the White House in 2016, losing the popular vote and putting together this very unlikely electoral college path. So I think that the lack of confidence is an indicator of something, but it may not necessarily mean that he is definitely losing this time.
All right, Steele, but do you see anything this time that gave you the same pause that you may have seen 4 years ago when it came to Trump?
I worry just because after 2016, I feel like we all should have drop-kicked our crystal balls into a dumpster fire. I would certainly rather be Biden than Trump right now. I do worry about some sort of narrow path where the president can lose, say, Wisconsin and Michigan, and run the table elsewhere.
Right.
I mean, that's what. If I'm the Trump campaign, that's what I'm thinking right now. If we can hang on to Florida, we can let states go in the upper Midwest to win this thing.
Markos, there's a new California poll out today, and Biden has a very narrow 36-point lead in the state of California. But it is a reminder. It is a reminder that in the blue states, Biden's numbers are going to be astronomical. Does it mean that he needs a 7, 8, 9-point national poll lead to get the 270 he needs? Because it does seem as if the battleground states don't move, even as the national numbers keep moving.
Well, the battlegrounds have moved. I mean, you're seeing consistent 5 to 7 point leads in states like Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan, and smaller leads in Georgia, in Arizona. Texas is competitive. I still can't believe I'm saying Texas is competitive. And so, but yeah, the national numbers are less important. But you're seeing a uniform shift of several points in the direction of the Democrats, and that's why you have a much broader playing field, much broader battleground map than we did even at the beginning of this cycle. So for sure, the popular vote's going to be a Biden victory. It's almost guaranteed at this point. But the battlegrounds are battlegrounds for a reason, because they are the states that are most closely contested.
No, absolutely. And in the South, you got to still watch out for the evangelical white women. It is keeping Donald Trump alive in those Sun Belt states. Anyway, Markos Moulitsas and Michael Steele, thank you both. Much appreciated. Meanwhile, we have just learned